sit down. Being bored is a privilege, it's a luxury, it's a blessing. But we often forget that it is because we live in a world that tells you that you have to move fast, keep moving, you have to keep hustling, you can't slow down.
When I think back on my journey, I know gotta make it all worth it. Had to step back from trying to be perfect, let my talent speak and keep working, that's my truth. You ain't never told no lie, you ain't never told no lie. Just gotta keep working. You ain't never told no lie, you ain't never told no lie.
Hey there, my name is LexC, and thank you so much for tuning in to another Lex Chat, where we talk about the music business and industry, and we help each other to become better artists and better creatives. If you are new here, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. Today, we are going to be talking about the number one thing that music creatives forget to do. Even for myself, me forgetting to do this one thing has caused me to miss posting on YouTube, for example. I haven't posted anything in July, and it's because I haven't been doing the thing that as a music artist I should be doing. And what is that thing, you might be asking? As a music creative, we often forget that we need to rest and reset. And when we forget to do those things, it leads to physical fatigue, mental fatigue, and burnout. But in this video, I want to talk to you about how we can make sure we are building time into our schedules to rest and reset, and how it is more beneficial for us to do that versus always being in that go, go, go hustle mindset. So let's chat. If you follow my channel, then you have probably noticed that I did not post any content in July, with the exception of my music video / interview. This is the part where, which you can go check out. I never remember which corner it is. Go check it out over there. If it's wrong, I'll flip it. But if you haven't noticed, I have not posted any Lex chats or any tutorials, any singing videos, nothing on YouTube for a month. And the reason why that is because I just got burnt out. A few things have changed in my life starting in the month of July, like starting a new job, which some of y'all may or may not know. A few months ago, I started a part-time job, which has certain demands on 3 days of the week and certain amount of hours throughout the week. In July, I started full-time with the corporate band, and I've been adjusting, figuring out, how is this going to affect my schedule, my energy levels, and all of those things. I've also had more demands from my podcast client, and they're asking for, more time and more energy from me. On top of that, I am also still doing audio engineering, not for as many clients as I used to, but I'm definitely still getting in the studio when I can. And what that all means is I have left myself with no personal time. I have not allowed myself to be bored. I don't have that luxury or that privilege anymore. And yes, boredom is a luxury. It's a privilege. It is a blessing. But unfortunately, I have not made that time for myself. And I'm also reading this book called The Artist's Way, which I'm supposed to be taking myself on weekly artist dates. I don't even have enough time to do that for myself. So I have been failing in that regard with that exercise for The Artist's Way. And a lot of things are really starting to catch up with me. And so I felt like coming back to do this video was the perfect topic, because it's a reminder that I need for myself as a music artist. We're always going, hustling. We're always doing a million different things, especially as an independent artist, because we have to depend on ourselves to make things happen. And what that means is we are an entrepreneur. We are a business owner. That means we wear different hats. We are the artist, the manager, the publisher. We are the record label. We're the graphic designer, the videographer, the photographer, the songwriter, the marketing and promotion division. We are the financiers, the ones providing the budget, providing the funds to be able to do some of these things. We are the stylists. We're the hairstylists. We are the makeup artist if you're a girl. There's so many different things that go into being a music artist. And with all of those things going on, it can be really easy to miss the most important thing, the most complimentary thing that goes with being a music artist, and that is to rest and reset. So when we ask ourselves, why should I make rest a priority? The simple answer is because it costs too much to not make rest be a priority. And let me explain the dangers of not resting and resetting. You run the risk of suffering from physical and mental exhaustion. There's an increased chance of injury. You risk impaired cognitive function. You risk burning out. And if you burn out, that means your overall productivity is not where it should be. So I want to get into how not resting and resetting can affect us physically, mentally, leading into burnout. And then I'm gonna talk to you about how we can always make sure we are allowing ourselves time to rest and reset. So let's start with the physical effects. What a lot of people don't realize is when you are approaching physical fatigue or physical exhaustion, when you're not getting rest for your body, it ends up messing up your entire system. So you can throw off your hormones, you can throw off your immune system, and you can throw off your muscles and your joints. Physically, we need rest because during that downtime, during the sleep is very important. If you are not getting your rest and you're not getting your sleep, you are putting your immune system at risk. Your system is not as alert, is not as awake as it could be because it did not have that time to reboot, essentially, if I were to describe it that way. And so things are getting missed. You might find yourself with a head cold, with some sniffles, with some headaches. I know for myself, I do struggle with headaches a lot, and it's typically from a lack of sleep. The reason why sleep gets knocked out of whack is because hormones are knocked out of whack, and when you're not getting enough sleep, you are also not allowing your body to rest. You're not allowing your muscles and your joints to regenerate and repair from the challenges of the day. You have trouble falling asleep and staying asleep. And that also leads to the mental and cognitive side of being affected by not sleeping and not resting. I told you before that I started singing full time with the corporate band starting in July, and I knew that I would have to give myself some time to adjust to that schedule. Now, even though it is only once a week, typically on a Friday or a Saturday, it is a 24-hour thing to sing with the band once a week. And I definitely underestimated how much of a toll that would take on my body. Even if I'm mentally okay to do stuff, physically, my body shuts me down, my body sits me down. So we might get on the road sometimes at midnight. Sometimes we are getting on the road at 5, 6 a.m. in the morning. We're driving for 4 to 6 to 10 hours, depending on where we're being sent off to perform. And we're getting in a place where, that's travel time. Being in a car, even though I can sleep for however long I need to, I'm not necessarily the most comfortable. And once we finally get to the destination, we are setting up, we're doing sound check. We don't really have an opportunity to have real downtime because we have to make sure we're on schedule with the client, right? And then we're getting on stage and we're performing for 3 hours straight. We're singing, we're dancing, we're interacting with people. And for me, I would describe myself as an introvert. Unfortunately, my social battery gets super drained after doing a show, not to mention using the in-ears where things are usually pretty loud, even if I try to mix the in-ears to my liking. During the show, it's just so much going on that my ears end up ringing, so I end up having headaches after the show. And then once we're done, we're wrapping up the show, 10, 11 o'clock, midnight, we are right back on the road and we're getting back to our hometown at 5, 6, 7 in the morning on a Sunday morning. And again, even though I can technically sleep in the van for however many hours it is to get back home, it's not necessarily a comfortable sleep. It's not necessarily restful. And the next day when I get home, I am confined to my bed for the entire day. I don't want to talk to anyone. I'm just super drained. And it's a result of, not having that rest. It's essentially 24 hours on edge. Essentially, I don't have that rest time for essentially an entire day. So I started doing that every weekend. We did have a couple weekends off already, so that's been really nice. But imagine doing that every weekend. So that's my weekend. That's all day, Saturday, Sunday, basically. And then I work a regular job Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then I do podcast stuff Tuesday. And throughout the week, I might also give Friday. This past week, especially for my podcast client, we had to go out of town and then we had to attend a podcasting event in the city, like a convention, essentially, a podcast summit. So I worked Monday, traveling all day or all night Monday, traveling all day Tuesday, moving around, running around, driving all night, getting back Wednesday morning, having to work Wednesday morning. And then I think I had to do a screening or something. I forget what it was. It was just a lot going on. And then working Thursday, didn't go to the gym. And I forget what was happening Friday, an event. Again, it's just been go, go, go. And I didn't realize just how much of an effect not getting my sleep was causing me to mentally deteriorate. So once the physical goes, the mind and the burnout comes after that. And when that mental fatigue hits, when that mental exhaustion hits, it's memory loss, it's having trouble making decisions, it is having trouble focusing, it's having trouble sleeping, like I mentioned already. Also with that mental fatigue comes in like mental health concerns, because as you are not sleeping, when you're not getting a good night's rest, it really does affect your mood and it affects really your outlook on life. I just learned about this when I was researching it. It's called professional efficacy, or the decrease of professional efficacy, which is basically you feel like your confidence is shot, you feel like your competence is shot, you feel like you're not as effective as a professional in your field. And just to be totally transparent with y'all, I was having thoughts of getting up out of here. It gets that bad, on top of like the woman problems. I'm not gonna get into that, but imagine lack of sleep, body thrown off double time because I'm a woman, and just feeling all of these different things, hormones thrown off. And I'm really being on the verge of burnout if I haven't already experienced it, because I'm just not feeling good. I'm feeling depressed. I'm feeling like I don't want to talk to anybody, don't want to do anything, don't have motivation to do anything, just want to lay around. That's a very dangerous place to be. And once you get there, it's not like you can necessarily take anything to get rid of the burnout. You kind of just have to let your body ride it out and do its thing. Unfortunately, once we get to that place mentally where we're feeling like, oh my goodness, nothing I do is good, or I'm useless, or I'm so lazy, I'm not getting work done, it can be really difficult to get through all of those feelings. And so, like I said, there's not much you can do while you're at that point, but there are certain things you can do before you get to that point. Once you get to that point, it really is just like mentally anguishing to be in that position. And I don't wish that for anyone. And unfortunately, once I get into that headspace, I start to beat myself up, and I start to really talk to myself in such a negative way, like, you're lazy. Why aren't you doing any work? Why don't you get up? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why didn't you finish this? Why don't you go and finish that? And it's just like a bunch of negative thoughts that come into my mind. That's probably not me, or at least it wouldn't be me if I wasn't so out of whack. Now, unfortunately, once you get to that point, it is really difficult to get out. But what we want to do is we want to do things that helps to combat, mental fatigue and physical fatigue before we even get to the point of burnout. There are certain things you can take. Something like a Magic Mind, which is a mental performance shot, is something that can help me to lock in, so that when I do get to the point where I'm ready to rest, I'm not beating myself up about, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. Because that's also something else that I suffer with, is I want to enjoy my rest and relaxation, but I can't relax because there's always something that can be done. Part of that is figuring out the mindset of, being able to allow yourself to enjoy. But another part of that is when we're making sure we're doing what we need to do, then we can enjoy that rest and relaxation. We can feel like we've earned it, right? So when I take something like Magic Mind, which battles the anxiety, it battles the stress, it helps me to focus, it helps me to lock in, I can lock in and get all of my tasks done, so then I feel like I've earned that rest and relaxation. And I would love for you to try it as well. If you feel like you might be a little overwhelmed, or you feel like you need something that's gonna help you to get through your day, get through your tasks so that you can feel more accomplished, I would highly recommend that you take it. Go to magicmind.com/LexMay for up to 50% off of your order. That's magicmind.com/LexMay for up to 50% off of your order. This is a mental performance shot, and it is meant to help so that you don't get to that point of burnout. When you get to a place of mental fatigue, which is what follows after the physical fatigue, unfortunately, you can start to suffer from stress and anxiety. You can start to suffer from a decrease in professional efficacy. And with that loss of quality of sleep, it turns into making more mistakes, having a harder time focusing, making decisions in like a delayed fashion. So like your ability to make quick decisions is impaired because you are mentally exhausted. And we don't want to get to that point. So I've already mentioned that you can take Magic Mind. Now, what are some other things we can do to make sure that we are getting that rest and relaxation time? Like I mentioned earlier, as a creative, especially as an independent artist, there are so many different roles that we have to take on. We are the artist, the manager, the label, the distributor, the publisher, we're the graphic designer, the videographer, the editor, the photographer, the stylist, the makeup artist. We end up wearing so many hats and stretching ourselves in so many different directions, especially if you are a creative who does not have a regular job. Like me, I do work as an audio engineer, and so I'm often at the mercy of other people's schedules. It can be really difficult to feel like there's going to be a time to just sit down and do nothing. So something that I had to learn is making my rest time non-negotiable. The beautiful thing about essentially being an entrepreneur as an audio engineer is that I create my own schedule. Now, somebody with a 9-to-5 job, this might actually be a little easier for you to do, to block out a time that is non-negotiable, because you have your set Monday through Friday that you're working. For an entrepreneur, it's a little bit different. It's a little scarier because oftentimes we feel like if we don't work, we're missing out on money. And a lot of times work is calling 24/7 every single day of every week. And especially if we're having a month that is really slow and we haven't met our quota yet, we're very much inclined to, all right, I can sleep after this. It's always going to be, I'll rest after this next session. I'll rest after this next project. I'll rest after this next whatever. And next thing you know, you've worked like 17 days straight, at least, I don't know, all day, every single day, and you've had no rest, no relaxation, and it drives you crazy. So something that I had to learn for myself is, what does my ideal schedule look like? What is my ideal rest day? For me, I like to take a rest day. So I will block off that day and I'll say, all right, this is typically my slow day anyway. So let me just make it to where I don't work on this day. And I start to train people not to bother me on this day, that we're not going to book on this day. I may still accept phone calls and text messages. And if people ask, I say, no, are you available for a different day? But that day is non-negotiable for me. If you cannot get an entire day to yourself, block off a few hours for yourself each day. So if I'm not able to get a full day to myself, something that will still make me feel good and feel accomplished throughout the week is if I have 2 to 3 hours in the morning for myself. That's 2 to 3 hours directly after I wake up. As long as I make sure I get to the gym, as long as I have time to eat a little breakfast, as long as I have time to read my Bible, and as long as I have time to do a quick little 20-30 minute self-reflection to reflect on the previous day and what's coming up for the upcoming day or the upcoming week, then I feel great having that 2 to 3 hours in the morning each day if I cannot carve out one whole day for myself. The best way to manage this is going to be using a calendar. If you are not a very organized person when it comes to your time, I would highly recommend that you develop the skill of time management, and you develop the ability to tell people no, and you develop the ability to stand on what you said you would do for yourself, which is give yourself this set time off, give yourself this set day off that nobody can touch. When I have my days or when I have my time in the morning, like a rule that I used to have was I don't talk to people before 10 a.m. because from the hours of 6 to 10 a.m., I need my time to myself. What I do is I turn my phone on silent, I flip it upside down so I can't see the screen light up. I do not have the little flash thing on my phone, so if a notification or something comes through, I don't see the flashlight, and I ignore my phone if I want to, if it's cool for me to do that. Some of y'all might got other obligations that won't allow for you to do that, but that works for me. Personally, I don't believe that we should be seeing 50,000 notifications and alerts and buzzes going off all throughout the day. So in general, I think it's good practice for your mental health to turn off your social media notifications. Like, you don't need to know that such and such liked your picture. That's gonna happen like 50 times an hour. You don't need to know that someone sent you an email necessarily. You don't need to know who said something on Twitter or TikTok or Facebook or YouTube. And there are so many social media platforms that we're using each day that is an overwhelming amount of notifications. And I personally get overwhelmed when I see I have like 14,000 messages or notifications on my phone. It gives me anxiety. So that's something you can also do to take away some of that mental frustration. Turn your notifications off, turn your phone on silent, use your calendar, block off your time. That time is for you. Next, I would say what you do for work should be different from what you do for fun. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because as a music artist, as a creative, I love music. I have placed myself in a special predicament of needing to do music with and for others to pay my bills. And what has ended up happening over time is that I am working on music around the clock. And then when I want to have fun, I'm working on music. So basically being stuck in the studio all day, having no concept of, time changing, of the sun going up or down. And for me, it really led to a lot of depression because I wasn't seeing the outside world. I wasn't living, I wasn't having experiences. And that made me really sad. As a creative, we need life experiences because that is what fuels the inspiration for the music in the first place. And while we do love music and we love making music, I would highly recommend that what you do for work is different from what you do for fun. Even if you love music, I would recommend that you do something outside of it, and then you live, you have experiences, and you have something to pull inspiration from, and it makes it much sweeter when you do get back into the studio to create. The last thing I want to tell you is to make sure you are prioritizing your sleep. I know as an independent artist, we're pulled in so many different directions, and we're told that we need to be everything, do everything, be everywhere. And we need to hustle and we need to be go-getters and we have to keep moving and we can't stop and we can't sleep, sleepers for suckers, all of that type of rhetoric, right? I personally do not subscribe to that type of thinking anymore. And I don't think it is a good way to live. We literally need sleep. And like I mentioned earlier, if you do not give your mind and your body its time to sit down and do nothing, to shut down and reboot and repair and get itself back together, if you never give your body time to rest, it's going to cost you in the long run. If you don't sit down, your body is going to make you sit down. Prioritize your sleep. If you're not getting quality sleep, it leads to decreased ability to make decisions. It leads to a lack of focus, a lack of attention. It leads to stress. It leads to anxiety. It leads to you not trusting yourself. You take a hit on your confidence. You start to doubt. You get tired and depression starts to creep in and it starts to make you question who you are, if what you're doing is right. And please take it from me. When I'm tired and I'm feeling overwhelmed and I am on the verge of burnout or I have already burnt out, those negative thoughts, that's a really dangerous thing to allow, but we can control those things by making sure that we are feeding ourselves properly. And one way that we feed ourselves, not just through nutrition and like fitness, but through sleep, making sure that we are loving on ourselves by allowing ourselves to sit down. Like I said, being bored is a privilege. It's a luxury, it's a blessing, but we often forget that it is because we live in a world that tells you that you have to move fast, you have to keep moving, you have to keep hustling, you have to do it all by yourself, you can't slow down. When in reality, if you don't slow down, you are going to crash, and that's exactly what happens, and that's exactly how we end up burning out. And that's all I have for you on this topic today. This is the number one thing that music creatives forget to do. We forget to just sit down, rest, and reset. So let me know in the comment section if you are watching on YouTube, or let me know in the episode notes what you thought about this episode, which part most resonated with you, and is this something that you forget to do? Is it something that you're afraid to do? Because that's another piece. That's another piece of that mindset. We be afraid to slow down, afraid to rest. We have a fear of missing out on something if we just sit down. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you'll be notified each and every time I post a new piece of content. Before I officially get out of here, you know I got to give a shout out to my patrons who support me on Patreon. Because of your support on Patreon, I am able to bring this valuable information for other creatives out there. So thank y'all so much for supporting me on Patreon. I also want to let y'all know that I released an album called Follow with fellow artist Sean King. It's a mixture of rap and R&B. I think y'all will really love it. It has 11 songs. It's available on all major streaming platforms. Make sure you go buy it, download it, stream it, do all the things. I would really love for y'all to let me know what you think about it. If you missed the last Sip and Chat, then the next one is going to be on the first Sunday of the month. And the next one is September 7th. That's Sunday, September 7th at 7 p.m. That is the next virtual Sip and Chat. Grab a drink, grab a Magic Mind, whatever it is, get some water, whatever you're sipping on. Log on to Instagram at LexCATL for the Sip and Chat, where it's just a group of creatives. We talk about what we're up to, what we're doing, and if we need help with resources, if we need advice when it comes to the creative side of things, then we help each other out. We have that community. Come join me and the other creatives on the first Sunday of every month. The next one, like I said, is September 7th at 7 p.m. And lastly, I want to give a final shout out to Magic Mind. Do not let yourself get to the point of burnout, and don't let yourself get to the point where you can't enjoy your rest and relaxation because you feel like you didn't lock in. Get Magic Mind. This is a mental performance shot that's going to help you battle that anxiety, help you battle that stress. It's going to help your focus. It's going to give you a sharper mind. It's going to give you less stress. It's going to help you to lock in so you can get things done and you can enjoy your rest and feel like you've earned it. Go to magicmind.com/LexMay for up to 50% off of your purchase. That's magicmind.com/LexMay for up to 50% off of your purchase. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this Lex Chat. I hope you enjoyed it. My name is LexC. Until next time, peace.
Tell me what the code is. No lawyers in showbiz. We omniscient, this shit changing.